Well, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Melissa. I am the owner and artist here at the Top Drawer RVA located in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm also a Dixie Belle brand ambassador. I found this cute little washstand at my local Goodwill for under $20. Super cute, but also needs a ton of repair. The whole entire top piece of veneer was loose, so I decided rather than gluing it and clamping it and worrying about it moving, I'm going to remove the entire top piece of this veneer. I use my multi-tool, which has a nice sharp edge, and a hammer, and I got in under the lip and started taking it off. This process went pretty smoothly until the back part, where I did need to do a little bit more digging to get the entire piece off the top. I feel like I get a lot of questions about why I would remove an entire piece of veneer from the top of a piece of furniture, especially when you probably could glue it and clamp it and work with what you got. When you do this on an old veneered piece, sometimes you just miss a spot, and then what happens is moisture gets under the lip somewhere and the entire thing starts to bubble again or get raised. So I don't mind removing the veneer, especially on an old piece like this, and then using some mud to fill in any of the small gaps or the little holes, and then starting fresh and from scratch. In other ways, with a hot iron, as well as maybe using a hot towel with water in it to really loosen the glue. The glue is the stuff that really holds the veneer to the piece. So as long as the glue is old enough to kind of dissolve itself, it's not very hard to get the entire piece off. Since this little piece of furniture was super duper cheap, that means I'm going to go a little bit wild with my piece. When I don't have to invest a lot of money into a piece of furniture, even when it's crazy like this and it needs a little bit of repair work, it makes my mind go a little wild. I think the fact that it doesn't cost very much makes me think that, hey, if I want to be wild and it sits to be sold for 6 months or 8 months, or if I even have to paint over it at the end of the day, it kind of verifies the whole let's get crazy with a little bit of paint thing. So I ended up having to glue the front parts of the drawers. They were coming loose from the base of the piece, and I just used my wood glue and a couple little clamps, and this piece was almost ready for paint. I guess the moral of the story is to not overlook the pieces that might need a little bit more TLC. It might add maybe 1 extra hour to your prep time, maybe less, but to be honest, I actually really enjoy fixing things and seeing how great I can make them look. With a little glue, some clamps, maybe some wood you bend moldings if you need it, and for sure some Dixie Belle mud, you can bring these little pieces back from the dead and make them fabulous. So I used my Dixie Belle mud to fill in any of the veneer issues on the drawers and the body of the piece. I also used mud on the top to fill in a couple little holes where there was some wood knots, and then I will have a nice smooth surface ready for paint. But first things first, don't forget your bonding boss. This is Bonding Boss in clear. The reason I'm using Bonding Boss in clear on this little wood chest is to prevent any tannins or bleed through from coming through onto my furniture piece when it's done painting. You normally won't see any of the tannins coming through until you're really done and you've put on that final top coat. And that's super frustrating because you've already put all the hours of work and all the hours of paint. So a little extra step in your prep is always a good idea. Bonding Boss is in gray, clear, and white. And the reason that I chose clear to protect my piece from any tannin bleed through is because I possibly will be sanding some of the edges back to reveal the wood finish underneath my paint on this piece. I think you saw the title page when I started this project and this video. The whole entire theme for this little washstand is going to be Dark Circus. And in my brain, a little bit of Dark Circus means that I might pull the paint back to reveal wood underneath to make something look older than it actually is. So let's get this party started and paint in my Dark Circus theme. I am going to paint the majority of this piece in Terra clay paint. Terra clay paint gives a beautiful stipple-like texture onto your furniture. I really love to use this water-based paint to create texture where there wasn't any before. Remember all the damages that I covered up with this piece? Using Terra clay paint is going to disguise maybe any little bumps or nicks or pieces that I might have missed in the repair process. Stippling on the color like this with my natural fiber brush. You can use your best dang brush, you can use a chip brush, you can use your French tip, whatever it is that's a natural fiber brush. Stippling it on is going to give me that kind of varied effect, and the little stipples will stay even when the paint is dry, which is going to add to the textured effect when I add waxes and darkness over top of this paint. Coming in on the sides with the same two colors and adding a little bit of desert tan to add some dimension to this piece. And FYI, for any of those people out there that have still not yet tried Terra Clay paint, what the heck are you waiting for? Right now, it is only actually $17.95 for the 16-ounce size container, which is massive. It's a massive amount of paint, and you really don't use a ton of it because of the stippling effect that you paint it on with. All right, are you ready? This is where we're going to get a little crafty, a little creepy, and a little creative. I'm going to hand paint a clown, whether you like him or not. I know clowns are not, they don't have the biggest fan base, but guess what? I'm going dark Circus, and this little clown got painted in on the side. He was painted in with multiple shades of Dixie Belle's chalk mineral paint, silk paint, and Terra Clay paint. I basically just grab whatever colors fit with the muted vibe of this piece. Over top of the clay paint on the top drawer, I will be adding stripes. I want to mimic a carnival tent, so I'm going to come in with Barn Red and Muscadine WIne. The two of these colors together will really look like a circus tent on the front drawer. One thing on this little washstand that you might not have seen was the fact that it was missing a back plate. That blue section at the back on the top of the little washstand was completely gone. With no back plate in sight, I checked my shed, and believe it or not, this tiny little welcome sign fit almost perfectly. I cut off a 1/4 inch of each side to make sure it would fit, and then I will remove the stuff that's on the front of it to secure it to the back. I often create these little Frankenstein pieces from multiple pieces of furniture that I keep in my shed. It's super important to kind of keep every little bit and piece of everything to really manufacture a complete piece where you might have been missing something before. So after using my multi-tool to remove the tiny little wood houses that were stuck on the front of this piece of wood, I then filled in all of the damaged areas with Dixie Belle's mud. The welcome part of the rooted sign is quite deep. It did take a good day or so to dry and a couple applications of mud to get it completely smooth because of the deepness of the word. But once that mud was completely dry and I sanded all of it back with my Surf Prep sander, it was like it was made for this tiny little piece. If I didn't tell you and show you, you would have never ever guessed. This drawer had the base of the yellow on it. I'm going to create a little sign out of this drawer, so I covered it with Terra Clay paint and Galaxy, and then when the Galaxy clay paint had dried, I sanded it back to reveal kind of like a worn image underneath. This is going to be the base for a hand-painted circus sign on the drawer. When working on a washstand like this and going for a theme, I'm going to consider each drawer or door a piece of a panel. It will be like an individual piece of art. So this door on the front is going to become like a little sign, and then the drawer on the top is going to be part of the carnival tent. When you're done, it all comes together. Right, we're getting spooky in here now. Can you see the image on the front of the drawer with those stripes? I've started to deepen and darken and age this entire piece using Voo Do Gel Stain. Voo Do Gel Stain is water-based, so I can apply it as heavy as I like and wipe it back to give an aged effect. I used some hand lettering on the front of this drawer and made a circus sign over top of the worn backdrop that I created, and used painter's tape to kind of lay out a plan and just hand painted it on there, as well as the front of this drawer. This is going to be my little elephant. This will be my circus elephant. I traced him out with pencil as a silhouette and then just painted him in with black caviar. If you trace these little images out with pencil before you begin to really nail it down, you're not going to be scared when you come in and do a little bit of hand painting. Don't be afraid of adding hand painting to your art. It totally takes it to the next level. I continued the stripes down on the bottom skirting of this tiny little washstand. I then used my Cricut machine to cut out some stars. Once I have the stars, I can come in and just really gently place down that vinyl, use that area to fill in the stars on this piece. So I went with cute little white stars in Terra Clay paint, and then I'm going to come back over top and age them even more. Have you ever used your Cricut machine to kind of do a reverse stencil? It's a great way to add a personalized touch to any piece because you can create the size, the shape, whatever you're choosing. You're the designer behind that. So I added these stars to the front panel to kind of fill in some space. I felt like the little elephant was sitting a little bit naked. And remember, this is dark circus. We are going over the top. I will add all of the things and I will make this piece totally extra. For the last and final drawer, I decided to make this one a ticket. So I used caviar to kind of sponge on and create a base, then coming in with the Terra Clay paint in the shape of a ticket for the circus. Using my Cricut stars with a little bit of Gilding Wax to place on some stars and cover up the edges. I then added some hand painting as well as a little bit of the vintage post transfer to make this look like a real ticket for the circus. The numbers are hand painted, but the little circle in the middle is a lion from the vintage post transfer. Let's get to work on the last part of my piece, which is the top. So now that my mud has dried and I've sanded it back to flat and I applied my bonding boss, I'm now going to add Terra paint and put that texture on the top. Remember, the texture hides any defects or any little parts that you didn't want to see, but this will be the base for my circus tent. And I know some of you are thinking, wow, this is a ton of effort for a little tiny washstand. But honestly, this image has been living in my head for a couple weeks now, and unless I get it out and onto a piece of furniture, I won't survive. I'll never sleep again. So even though this little piece of furniture has all of the things, all of the colors, and all of the details, I absolutely love creating a piece like this. I continued with the Terra Clay paint on the top part of this piece. Once again, you can see me using my French tip brush and a couple of colors of Terra Clay paint. They make the prettiest clouds. Super easy to create clouds with Terra Clay paint. If you haven't tried this before, I do it all the time. You should give it a go. Now that this has been finished, this little panel, it will fit perfectly where the missing back plate is. I secured it with my nail gun to make sure that it would adhere well and be sturdy. Once that this is on there, I'm going to come in and hand paint a circus tent on the top of my piece. Look how cool that sky looks. Honestly, Terra Clay paint for painting a sky or a nature scene or anything that you want a really beautiful organic feel for, it just does the job so easily. I really want you to give this paint a try. It's by far my favorite thing to use. So for the circus tent that I will be painting on the top, you can see the pencil lines a little bit on the back of the washstand. I started to pencil line in the top of the tent and I put it off center on purpose. I don't like to have anything front and center. I think off center looks a little bit better on any piece of furniture. Then using the same colors, that rustic red, the barn red, and the Muscadine WIne, along with some Terra Clay paint in a lighter color. I think I used Prairie Dawn and Moonbeam. Together they create a really pretty circus tent. I added the black center of the doors of the circus tent and then came in with some gold as well as Colonel Mustard to create a kind of glowing effect in where the black part of the circus tent is. I think I added about 2 layers to the circus tent paint in just to make sure that I had the shadowing correct and the dimensions correct. I really wanted it to look like it was draping down from the top and over the top part of the washstand. I also added blue in and a little bit of gold to create the folds and panels at the top of the door. I sealed this entire project with clear coat, and then I also added gold gilding wax as well as a gold lip around the top of the washstand with gilding wax as well. I reinstalled the original hardware and I found the perfect knob for the drawer front. The front of the door actually has a little lion pull in gold, which accentuates the drawer that has the lion on it as well. And I think that I really nailed this dark circus look. I know it's not for everybody and it's a total niche, one-of-a-kind piece, but I cannot tell you the amount of fun that I had painting this project. So many details, so much hand painting, and so much fun on this little washstand. I painted a bear on a ball on one side of the piece. We have that beautiful clown, or scary, whatever you prefer, on the other side, and then the circus tent taking the top stage on the top of the washstand. What is your favorite part on this tiny little washstand? Is it the hand-painted drawers? Is it the circus tent and the moody sky? Is it the staging with popcorn and tickets? Because you know I had to go over the top on the staging. Let me know in the comments below which part of this little washstand was your absolute favorite. I almost forgot. If you look closely at the bottom of the washstand on the little skirting on the front, I also added one small little half wood circle to create a base for the tent. So maybe the next time you're at your local thrift store, estate sale, or wherever it is that you find your fun furniture, and you see a sad, neglected piece like this, and you think, who would ever want that? Well, it's probably me. I would totally want it, but I want you to start to look at your furniture as functional art. Why not grab that little washstand that's under $20 and have some fun? And just imagine what you can do with a little bit of creativity and a little bit of paint. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.